Alright, Scott, I'm going to do a brief tutorial on this thing. Chirp application with the Bofung uv5r. I've got the old model. Works great. Make sure your programming cord is plugged all the way in. Plug it into the USB port. Linux finds it fine. I know some people said they had some driver issues with some of the versions, but go out there to the Chirp Dan Planet website and any of that should be addressed. So let's open up the Chirp program. It comes up with a blank screen. Go up to the top, hit radio, download from radio. Make sure you've got the radio turned on. Once you go to Bofung uv5r, I'm pretty sure that the uv5r programming will program all of them. Of course, you've got different selections for like the BF888s that I was talking about and other radios. I also use this to program my ICOM Yaesu and my Yaesu FT817. So it's a great little program. Anyway, choose your radio, hit OK. Gives your instructions. Once you do it a few times, it's easy. Turn radio off, connect the cable to it, make sure the connector is firmly connected. Some of them are tight and feel like they're plugged in. Grab a hold of it, push it in there firmly, and feel that last little click. Alright, turn the radio on. It says volume may need to be set to 100%. I usually just turn mine up about halfway and it's done. Make sure the radio is tuned to channel with no activity. Very important, because if you get a signal coming in, that'll interrupt the programming. Click OK to download. Now, even if it's not programmed to start with, go ahead and download from the radio. That way it knows that that's that model radio, and because I'll show you some other settings that are radio specific. Okay, once it comes up, you will see I've got this one programmed already. Once you pull it up and it looks like this, or whatever frequencies come from the factory, I don't remember now. Once you pull it up, go ahead and click File, Save As, choose you a file name. I've got mine under uv5r and it's a image file. Just hit Save. Well, you know all that. Override it. Anyway, now the radio does not have to be on. You can pull up your file, drop it in here. I'm going to actually send you a copy of mine. It's got some different stuff from the 2-meter ham stuff in the first bank, and then I've actually got a gap because it's the way my brain works. I actually do a 440 repeater that I can use with 2 of these little radios, and a cable to go from sub-mini to mini on the speaker to microphone jacks. That's a whole nother thing in of itself. We'll talk about that later. If you ever use it, I tinker with it a little bit. Anyway, my next bank is 440, and I always leave spots at the end for adding more channels in. My next set from 71 up is, actually it's Lincoln County Fire, State Fire, Rescue, Medical, Lincoln County Sheriff's Department, Police, as well as some Marine channels. I think, if I remember right, you're up towards Statesville, so not that these are type accepted for Marine. However, they can be used as Marine handhelds. Food for thought. Anyway, if you will notice, and I kind of touched on this a little bit on their Facebook chat, on my Fire and Rescue and Police channels, over here where it says duplex, it says off. That is, transmission is completely off. That means if somebody gets a hold of it, they flip to those channels, they push the button, it will not transmit. Where it says none, that means there's no duplex. So that's a little off thing with that. Offset, I'll just go over that. On your 440 bands, offset is usually about a +5, as you'll see there. And if you look into some of the ham stuff, you'll find a lot of this stuff. 2 meter bands, it's usually a 0.600, and that could be positive or negative. I know some of these, you see, like I've got a positive, I've got a negative, positive, 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 depending on where they are in the spectrum. But that's more ham stuff. That's not really, you'll know that when you go into chirp, but some of these programs, some of these repeaters that I've got in here, Dallas repeater, Anderson Mountain, Spencer Mountain, some of that stuff is already pre-programmed with what I'm going to drop you. And some of them already has the tones. So that'll all be in the file that I send. That'll be the chirp image file. Alright, fire and rescue, FRS channels. This is what I was talking about. I've got all 14 of the FRS channels, and there's also GMRS, which is FRS channels that use a repeater, and that's these here because they're positive offset. Technically, you're supposed to be licensed to use the GMRS radios and repeaters. However, that's one of them howevers. If you don't plan on using them, you don't have to worry about a GMRS license. Get your ham license, have fun with the rest of it, use some simplex stuff. If you're going to be using it at the club with unlicensed people, FRS channels are the way to go. It will work. It works great with them. A little side note, FRS radios are not supposed to have detachable antennas. So type acceptance is a little flaky on these there. However, when you're talking about a couple watts, whatever. I also have weather channel programmed in the last memory. 162 475 is Spencer Mountain, so I can actually go in there and monitor the weather radio broadcast in the event of emergencies and this, that, and the other. You'll see one on here that says CMA 07. That is FRS channel 07, but I've got it set up with a tone squelch, so it's private. That means even though somebody with an open radio could monitor, you won't get a lot of chit chat in from other people's radio with interference. Like if we're at an event or something, channel 7 is very little used frequency for most people. Are like 1 or 2 or 4, something like that, or top ones 14, 13, 12. 7 is a very unused channel, so we use that one a lot, and I've got the tone squelch on it, which you can actually go and look up the Motorola FRS handheld radios and find. I'm wanting to say that this is code 1 and 1 if you look at one of the little Motorola FRS radios, but if you're going to use these specifically, great. If you go to an event and they're using FRS radios or even business band radios, because these will do business band, and I was looking on here the other day and I'm like, why do I not have business bands programmed? That's going to be my next stop, and that's probably going to be in a section in one of these blank areas. Anyway, once you get everything programmed, or drop it over, you'll see memories over here, you'll see settings. Settings is where you change different stuff. Your squelch level, battery saver. Go through your manual, you'll find the different things that all these stuff stands for. You can change the color of the LEDs when you receive and transmit. Roger beeps. Don't use Roger beep on ham radio. FRS is fine, so different things like that. Advanced settings, your Vox sensitivity, voice actuation, alarms. You can change your from English to Chinese on your voice, on your information and stuff. If you're scanning channels, it'll go back to scanning once the carrier drops out. It has broadcast FM radio, so you can press one of the side buttons and it'll go to broadcast FM. And if you're monitoring, say you use one of these with a helmet headset on a ride, you can listen to the FM radio through it. When somebody keys up on your channel, it interrupts the broadcast, and you can listen to what they have to say, and or if you key up, it'll interrupt it and go back. Alright, other settings, firmware, power on messages, all that. Don't really have to worry about that. Once you get licensed, you can put your call sign in here where it says welcome or something, and that way when it comes on, it'll come on with your call sign. Work modes, whether you're in memory channels or VFO mode, like this one here, I just happen to have it on, the A channel was on 116, B channel was on channel 8. You can display either one, whether you've got your channel or your VFOs, your offsets, FM radio preset, service settings or DTMF settings, service settings. A lot of that stuff you really don't have to mess with, but these are some of the settings that comes in from the radio itself. I keep mine on show empty. That's basically it. Once you get everything programmed and save it, then you can save it as, like I've got the uv5r. I save stuff all the time. Now, the file that I'm going to send you, once you open up and download from the radio, it'll have that in there. Open up Chirp. You can do open, go find your file, hit the uv5r or whatever the file name is, open it up, and it will load all that. So all that's loaded just straight from the file and not to the radio. Then you do an upload to the radio. It's already set for the Bofang uv5r, so don't really have to change anything there. Hit OK. It gives you little instructions again. Goes through cloning. The radio has a little green light, will blink on the front of it. Do 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 do. And it's programmed. Unplug it, plug your next one in, and do an upload to radio. If for some reason there is a different little firmware between the radios, let's see where my firmware is. Yeah, it says firmware message, and that's one of the things. If you happen to get radios with different firmwares, it may say something to the extent of it won't download from it because the firmware is different. Easy peasy. Once you download what's in there and get the settings for your radio, you can go up here and highlight the top one, do a select all. You can copy it. You can end up opening up a whole new generic make sure you set at least one memory range. Run this all the way up because they're like 127 memories. Highlight the first one, do a paste, and there they all are. And then you can once you download from the radio, you can lay that right over top of everything else that's already in there. If there's something in there and then you just go to channel 1, do a paste, it'll say overwrite location 2. Just hit overwrite all, and it'll go through and it'll overwrite every one of them. It'll say completed writing memory 128, so it all overwrote them. That is the basics of chirp. I'm not going to save that one. There is some stock configurations to look at. Open stock configs. It has marine channels, mirrors channels, railroad channels, business radio. There they are. It says UK radios. Let's see. European, FR Marine, FRS, GMRS. UK business band. There's some of the business band stuff, but yeah, you can, if you just want to program with like the FRS channels, alright, here is all your FRS, and I'm gonna do this and kill the radio, and then then I can just load it back up. Okay. Select all. Copy. Alright, then I can go back over here. I can do highlight. Do a right click on highlight number 1. Paste all that. Overwrite location. Yes. Let's just do all. Okay. Now, once you copy your frequencies over, you see 1 through 22 is just now the FRS GMRS channels. Then you would just upload it to the radio, hit OK, and it will program them. I know I'm kind of going through a little bit more stuff than I usually do, but this will make it a whole lot easier when you go to program or change the programs or whatever like that. And now that radio is programmed, and I just changed the first 22 channels. Of course, I can go and open my recent uv5rs. There's what I had before. Pull it up, upload it to the radio. I could turn that off to where it doesn't show the instructions, but you know, if I'm 6 months to a year between doing the programming, I may forget all the steps, especially on my Yaesu FT817, which is all mode, all band QRP rig, from low bands all the way up to UHF, because you got to press A, hold C, different little things like that. Anyway, brother, I'm not going to change any of these files. That is the basics of it. Yeah, just when you get, I'll send you this little image file. It's not much, and you can actually open it up with Excel